The fight world just got hit with one of the boldest claims ever. Joe Rogan, the legendary UFC commentator who's witnessed countless knockouts and champions, set the MMA universe ablaze by dropping a statement on his podcast.
The Jon Jones Alex Pereira fight will probably be the biggest fight in human history.
Fans went into overdrive, speculating about the next big matchup. While the MMA world is buzzing, Alex Pereira himself has weighed in, giving fans a glimpse into the mindset of a champion ready for his next challenge. Alex mentioned he'd like to fight at heavyweight and sees Jon Jones as a potential challenge. He didn't go into full details, but a super fight could be on the horizon.
Essa é a melhor aposta?
Não, queria super luta.
No, I want a super fight.
Oh, super fight at heavyweight.
I can think of one.
Wow,
name.
Derek
I would,
Lewis? It's Aspinall, man.
Bom, não sei se Casa Branca, Jon Jones.
Jon
seria uma
Jones.
super luta.
At the White House.
Jon Jones. That's a super fight.
All right, so he's...
On the other side, Jon Jones has also weighed in on the matchup, explaining why facing Pereira is the fight that truly matters to him at this stage of his career. After years at the top, Jones isn't chasing belts or accolades. He's focused on fights that define his legacy.
Alex Pereira is the only fight right now that makes sense to my legacy. A guy who's young and, my age and active still, and have something worthwhile to me.
He explains that most matchups don't offer the challenge or significance he's seeking. Jones wants a fight that truly matters. Pereira, as a young and accomplished champion, presents the challenge and legacy-defining test he's looking for.
A guy who's young and, my age and active still, and have something worthwhile to me. Yeah, at the end of the day, Pereira, man. Pereira's worth risking it for me.
Stepping in to break it all down, Chael Sonnen, a former UFC fighter and seasoned MMA analyst, shares his perspective on what this call-out really means. Chael Sonnen breaks down Pereira's call-out and makes one thing clear. This isn't about money, belts, or big events. Pereira isn't chasing hype. He wants a true test of skill against one of MMA's all-time great.
But why does Alex Pereira want to fight Jon Jones? Don't tell me money. Pereira's rich. Pereira has the #1 contract in the UFC. I don't count Conor because Conor's not currently licensed. Just so you know, Pereira has the #1 contract.
Sonnen points out that very few fighters actually want to face Jon Jones. Most callouts are motivated by titles, pay-per-view, or prestige.
I don't believe anybody's ever wanted to fight Jon Jones. I realize you'll find a couple of people that said it. I don't believe them. I don't believe those people. All right, fair enough, you'll find some yeses, but we can also then quickly understand that had to do with world championships. That had to do with main events, that had to do with paydays. There was a lot of things that you packaged that you actually wanted, that you named Jon Jones.
He also added that Pereira, however, stands out as genuinely seeking the challenge, willing to step into the cage to find out who is better. That mindset is what makes this potential matchup so intriguing and honorable.
I think that Alex Pereira might be the first person to ever call out Jon Jones. Where I actually think they want to fight Jon. This isn't about a main event. This isn't about Madison Square Garden. This isn't about pay-per-view points and legacy, and they actually want to fight Jon Jones. X's and O's, my skills versus your skills. Just so we know, just so we can go on through this journey known as life and have the answer to this question. Can I beat you or can you beat me?
According to Sonnen, this is the pure essence of competition, a champion testing himself against a legend, not for belts or bonuses, but for the answer itself. That mindset is what makes this potential matchup so intriguing and honorable.
Might be the thing that I find the coolest, the top. A legit, true competitor who legitimately, behind the fame and the money and the cameras, wants to know, am I better than you or are you better than me?
However, in his latest review, Chael Sonnen further analyzed the Pereira call-out, emphasizing the timing and context. He notes that before a Jones versus Pereira matchup can happen, outcomes in the heavyweight division, like fights involving Tom or Ciryl, could impact the storyline.
Now, I want you to stay with me, because if Pereira is to go and fight Jon Jones, that is going to overshadow the entire UFC. It's going to overshadow the heavyweight division. That will become the biggest fight in the heavyweight division. But it's not supposed to be. That's supposed to be the heavyweight champion. Now, here's where things get interesting. 2 weeks, Abu Dhabi, Tom versus Ciryl. If Tom wins, then we have Pierre and we have Jon Jones, and we take them away. Who's Tom fight?
Sonnen stressed that Jon Jones is willing to fight Pereira, but the perception of avoiding other top fighters could complicate things.
If we're going to look at that ability, we can't look past Ciryl and Tom. We can't do that. If Tom were to win, I think your ability to have Pereira and Jones in the bracket but not matched up becomes a little bit more difficult of a story to tell. I understand it can be done. I'm just making conversation with. I think it becomes a more difficult story to tell. And you would likely default to the lowest hanging fruit, which is this is a number 1 contenders match.
Moreover, Sonnen highlights that while Jones has no issue fighting Pereira, the fight must be framed carefully to avoid the perception that he's avoiding other top contenders.
But before we get to the likelihood of Pereira versus Jones, we've got to see the outcome. And we've got to see the performance. We got to see how it plays out.
Sonnen also explains that the outcomes of Ciryl and Tom's fights could influence the possibility of a Jones versus Pereira matchup, as the way they win will shape the heavyweight division storyline.
A victory for Ciryl or Tom is not enough. The way that victory is achieved, that's what's going to set up the storylines for the heavyweight division. And it's only once we have that outcome that we can begin to predict if we're going to get Jones and Pierre.
Adding another perspective, Eric Jackman, known online as New York Ric, discussed the potential Jon Jones versus Alex Pereira fight, highlighting that he is confident that the UFC would be interested in setting up this fight in the White House.
I am fairly confident that the UFC would be interested in booking Alex Pereira versus Jon Jones, despite what Dana White kind of said after the fight.
According to him, even as a GOAT, Jones is no longer in his prime, carrying extra weight and slower movement.
It's not 2013 anymore. You know, that's not the Jon Jones he's facing. If you give me that Jon Jones, I'm taking Jon Jones against anybody. There's nobody in history who was ever better than the prime Jon Jones. We're out of that era. That doesn't exist anymore.
On the other hand, Pereira brings exceptional power, speed, and agility, making him a serious threat despite betting lines favoring Jones.
But if you're telling me Alex Pereira has a 5% chance of beating Jon Jones, I just don't buy that. Like the insane amount of power that this guy carries.
According to him, Alex Pereira has a real chance because unlike a lean and agile Jon in his prime, the current Jones comes in heavier, around 240 to 250 pounds, with less speed and mobility.
Like, you can't tell me that Jon Jones beat Alex Pereira 90% of the time because A, it's a diminished Jon Jones. He is just older, right? And B, Jon Jones is a heavyweight who comes in, you know, what did he come in last time? 240 something, 250 something. There's a lot of fat on that body. Like, it is not like a lean, trim Jon Jones.
Moreover, he added that Pereira's speed, power, and agility give him opportunities to capitalize on opening, making him a serious threat despite the odds heavily favoring Jones.
The speed advantage, the hand speed, the power, the agility is all going to be on the side of Alex.
He also mentioned that out of 10 hypothetical fights, while Jones might win most, Pereira could still pressure and land significant strikes in a few, giving the underdog meaningful chances.
If you're telling me that Alex is not going to have some moments to potentially pressure Jon Jones, out of 10 fights, Jon Jones is winning that 9 times. I'm leaning with the underdog there, and I say that as somebody who thinks Jon Jones is the unequivocal GOAT. Nobody is in the conversation other than Jon for me.
Where Alex Pereira and Jon Jones have both expressed interest in fighting at the upcoming UFC White House event, fueling fan speculation, Dana White commented under an Instagram post regarding this fight at White House, saying that's totally bull, and confirmed that no discussions have started yet. He also added that those conversations won't start until early 2026, meaning everything circulating online right now is pure speculation. White confirmed that absolutely nothing is finalized for anyone, despite multiple fighters publicly campaigning for spots on the card. While the Jones versus Pereira matchup continues to spark debate, the MMA world now has another intriguing twist. Khamzat Chimaev has publicly called out Alex Pereira. Khamzat Chimaev just threw his hat in the ring, tweeting that he's ready to fight you in the heavyweight division, calling it the ultimate super fight, and vowing to smash everybody, adding yet another layer to the growing chatter about super fights in the division. When Brendan Allen, a top UFC middleweight contender, was recently asked about Khamzat Chimaev calling out Alex Pereira, he didn't dismiss the idea outright. Allen pointed out that unlike some others, Chimaev isn't reckless with his word, but he does know how to stay relevant and in the spotlight.
What do you think of Khamzat calling out Alex Pereira and wanting to move up to 205 before he even has a title defense?
I think that's kind of like the story of Chimaev, right? Like, he just talks a lot, he gets a lot of eyes, like, it's not to the degree, but it's like Conor talking just to stay relative. Obviously, like, Chimaev's not that bad, right? He doesn't say that much stuff and that much reckless stuff.
He also expressed skepticism about Chimaev moving up so quickly, noting that there's still work to be done in his current division before taking on such a massive challenge.
I think he's got a lot of work to do in our division first, and it's not like he's a huge 85er that's cutting a lot like Alex was to get to 85, to where it's like, all right, I became a champion, I defended once, like, let's just go up or whatever.
According to him, the matchup is intriguing, but he isn't convinced it's realistic anytime soon.
So, yeah, it's weird, but I don't think that's in his future right now.
Building on this perspective, he acknowledged that Chimaev has made headlines by targeting a specific fighter in a different weight class. Sonnen suggested that while it may look like Chimaev is going after Pereira personally, it could also be more about pursuing championship status and challenging himself.
This isn't the first time that Khamzat has specifically associated himself with Alex Pereira. Khamzat has not said, I want to be the 205-pound champion. I want champ status. He has specifically gone after Pereira. However, I think that's a coincidence. I don't think he means Pereira, even though he's said that. I think he's talking about champ status. I think if Pereira goes to light heavyweight, Chimaev's idea of being champion at 205 pounds does not go away. But other people, Daniel Cormier included, have told me I'm wrong.
Sonnen also highlighted the tactical intrigue of the matchup. Pereira has never faced a world-class wrestler like Chimaev, and while taking him down might be theoretically possible, sustaining control for an entire fight is a difficult task.
And one thing that Pereira has not faced is that world-class wrestler. And that story was attempted to be told twice. Both times that Pereira faced Ankalaev. Both times the media and the fans came out and they were shoving this Caucasus region Russian wrestler into your face. And it was Ankalaev himself that said, hey, I don't represent wrestling. I wrestle all the time. I live in it. I'm surrounded by wrestlers. I've done plenty of wrestling, but that's not who I represent. I represent kickboxing. And by the way, if you follow Ankalaev's past, you're not going to see a wrestling singlet. He is a kickboxer who was exposed to really high level and got really good at wrestling, but it's a little bit different, isn't it?
Sonnen concluded that regardless of whether the fight happens, it's part of a larger pattern in MMA where fighters challenge themselves in different ways, keeping fans in the sporting.
These ideas and themes that come in MMA, it appears that we're living through one right now, which is fight anybody you can fight other than the guy that you're supposed to fight.
As the MMA world gets excited about potential super fights, it's clear that the landscape is shifting. Champions like Jon Jones and Alex Pereira are chasing legacy, while rising stars like Khamzat Chimaev are ready to stake their claim. However, one thing's certain, the next big fight could be just around the corner, and when it happens, it won't just be a clash of champions, it will be a collision of stories, strategies, and legacies. So, who comes out on top if all these stars finally meet in the octagon? What are your thoughts on this? Share your thoughts in the comment section, and make sure to subscribe and like if you enjoyed the video.